Look at your keyboard right now. QWERTY. Why? Who looked at the alphabet and thought, you know what? Let's scramble this completely. And why are we, in 2026, still using a layout invented for a machine that no longer exists, designed to solve a problem we no longer have? The story behind your keyboard is stranger, older, and more controversial than almost anyone realizes. The year is 1868. Christopher Latham Sholes, a newspaper editor and part-time inventor in Milwaukee, has just patented the first practical typewriter, and his original layout, alphabetical, 2 rows, A through Z, neat and logical. It was a disaster. Early typewriters worked through a forest of metal arms called type bars, each one swinging up to strike the ribbon and print a letter. The problem was mechanical. Type 2 nearby letters in quick succession, and the bars would physically collide mid-swing, jamming together in a bent, tangled mess that required stopping, untangling, and restarting. With an alphabetical layout, the most common letter combinations in English, TH, HE, IN, ER, AN, were all clustered near each other on the keyboard. Every common word caused a jam. The machine was essentially fighting the English language. Sholes knew he had to redesign the layout, but not the way most people think. Here's where the popular story gets it wrong, and it's worth correcting, because the real answer is more interesting. The myth, QWERTY was deliberately designed to slow typists down to prevent jamming. The truth, that's not what the evidence shows. Sholes didn't want slow typists. He wanted to sell typewriters. Slow, frustrating machines don't sell. What he actually did, working with educator Amos Densmore, was study which letter pairs appeared most frequently in English and separate them across the keyboard. Put common pairs on opposite sides, under different hands, so the type bars would have time to return before the next one swung forward. The layout wasn't designed to make you slower. It was designed to make the machine faster by reducing the collisions that were grinding it to a halt. There's one more detail that almost nobody mentions. In 1873, Sholes sold his design to Remington & Sons, the gun manufacturer. Remington's engineers made final adjustments to the layout based on their own mechanical requirements. By the time QWERTY reached the public, it had passed through multiple hands and multiple compromises. One small legend that might actually be true: the word typewriter can be typed entirely using only the top row of a QWERTY keyboard. Some historians believe Remington salesmen arranged this deliberately, so they could demo the machine by typing the product name without having to reach for other rows. By the 1890s, QWERTY had become the dominant standard. Typing schools taught it. Businesses adopted it. An entire generation of professional typists learned it, and the fastest typists in the world were doing it on QWERTY. In 1936, a professor named August Dvorak designed an entirely new layout, the Dvorak Simplified Keyboard, placing the most common letters on the home row, alternating vowels and consonants for maximum efficiency. Studies suggested it was genuinely faster to learn and easier on the hands. It went almost nowhere. Because here's the brutal economics of standards. Once enough people know a system, the cost of switching becomes enormous. Every typist retrained, every textbook is reprinted, every keyboard was replaced. The US Navy tested Dvorak in 1944 and found it faster, but the investment required to retrain the entire military typing workforce was calculated as too expensive to justify. Economists call this path dependency, where a historical decision locks in a standard long past the point where the original reason for it exists. The type bars are gone. The jamming problem is gone. The layout remains. So your fingers follow a pattern carved out by mechanical arms on a 150-year-old machine, refined by a gun company, possibly arranged so a salesman could spell one word smoothly, and locked in forever by the sheer weight of everyone who learned it before you. The alphabet keyboard was logical. It just came too late. By the time anyone questioned QWERTY seriously, the entire world had already memorized it. Sometimes the strangest things become permanent, not because they're the best solution, but because they were the first solution that worked well enough, long enough, for enough people. Your keyboard isn't a design, it's a fossil. Like this video, and subscribe for more videos that uncover the hidden history behind things you use every single day.